Welcome to the Secret Life of Therapist. I'm your host, Dr. Habiba Zaman. I have Coach Viorica here with me. She is a life coach. She acts like my life coach these days. She's a fitness coach. She's a fitness model. She's an influencer, whether she likes to think of herself as one or not. But she's this amazing, beautiful human being that spends her whole existence helping other people feel amazing about themselves and feel good internally and out. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was such a beautiful introduction.
That is how I see you.
Thank you.
That is exactly how I see you. So you guys, we are going to talk about today's one. I kind of ambushed Coach over here with this topic just before we started our call, where I think it's going to be prudent to talk about how no matter where we are in our career, where we are in our life, what age range we get to, right? We're in our mid 40s right now. But this feeling of being an imposter just kind of never fully goes away. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, because there's always, the achievements we have, and there's things that we haven't achieved, whatever we do in our lives. So for me, it's basically how many people I taught something and actually who managed to get on the right path and actually have success with whatever they're trying to do, whether it's usually something fitness related. But often, and very often, I fail doing this. And probably it's not really, partly maybe it is my fault, but partly it's not. But there's always situations when you find yourself is questioning yourself whether what you're doing is right or not, and whether it is in my case whether it's actually working or not.
Right. And that goes and bleeds into all areas of our life, in my opinion. That's something that I've seen not just in the career, but in life, right? With relationships, with friendships. As a mom, you're also a mom. You're a mom of a beautiful boy. And I know I'm a couple of years ahead with my ages with my babies, but you and I have talked about that a couple of times about what it means to be a mom. And then again, like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know if I'm supposed to be responding to him this way. I don't know if what he's doing is even developmentally accurate or not, right? Just that confusion. And I don't know anyone, not a single person who is so self-assured that they don't, and if they are, then maybe they have a personality disorder. I have plenty of experience with those, or they're just not being honest with themselves. Because if you are honest with yourself, like you said, there's always things that you can work towards. And sometimes it's that working towards that zap us of that confidence in the moment of how much you have achieved and how far you've come.
Well, when it comes to being a mom, I can definitely tell you that I have many, many questions whether I'm good at it or not. Although I do think that I'm doing my best, but I've been analyzing myself and I've been analyzing my relationship with my son. I've been analyzing my relationship with people around me, basically with the world around me. And
right.
A lot of it, I go back to my childhood and I go back to my relationship with my mother, which probably wasn't the best, but I was never thinking about it. When I was a kid, I never thought about it.
Because you don't know any better,
Yeah.
right? Like, how are you supposed to know if that's the best or not? It is just what it is. It's the only thing you have.
What made me question, it was in 2022 when my mom was actually dying, and what made me question my relationship with her was the fact that she apologized before she passed away. She apologized for always being jealous of
Oh,
my,
wow.
when it comes to my father. She was jealous of me. I wasn't the first kid, My dad really loved me and my sister very much. He passed away even earlier, and she apologized to me saying that she was jealous of me, and that those words were like, enlightened so much in my head. I don't know why. It's just this whole chaos. My mom passed away. I suffered. I did, but not as much as I did when my dad passed away. So basically, I don't have memories with my mom the way I have with my dad. So I
Mhm.
never thought about that until I lost her. So basically, half of my life and half of the memories I remember with her was her yelling at me and sometimes even beating me. That was a very normal experience in this area of the world. For,
Yeah,
for
same with mine.
yeah, yeah. The belt was very something that I know of very very well. And whether I deserved it or not, because I was a kid, I was a teenager. I right now I don't really think that I deserved that, but back then it seemed like a tragedy. I was late 5 minutes from my walk outside, or late 5 minutes, or whatever, 1 hour from school. And back in the days we did not have cell phones, so it was just they were worried, I know, but my dad was nice and my mom was the bad cop. So she was the one. My father actually protected me from my mom a couple of times. I do remember that clearly.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be that. And I don't think that I'm capable of being that with my son. Maybe it's a different generation. Maybe we're different, but I'd not even imagine raising my hand at him. I don't know why, but
I mean, I think that that's important. One of my qualms with people, as you saw, I rolled my eyes as soon as I said it. But, one of my issues with people is when they say, well, this is what I know and this is how I was raised. So this is all that I know. It bothers me so much because I'm so different in how I show up for my children. And it has nothing to do with my education. My education supports what I've already been doing. I was a mom before I became a psychologist, right? So
yeah.
that was just, there's things that I experienced that I was determined my children never will, right? Especially not from me. Um, so I think it speaks a lot to, I don't, because I can't gentle parent either. The gentle parenting, that's like the fad right now. I'm not a gentle parenting in that sense. There are boundaries, there are rules, there are consequences to breaking those boundaries. It's very structured in my home. It's the only way that I can function. That's just me.
Oh,
It
you're
predict
structured.
it's
You are.
predictability. I'm
I
sorry.
I am chaos. You're structured. I'm chaos. I am the gentle parent. Maybe
Yeah,
because I have too much on my plate and I cannot really do everything at the same time. Even now, he's
100%.
to me, he's playing, and I'm like, you have to be quiet. You have to be quiet this out.
No, I think that is a big part of it. Personality plays a big role. I'm very structured so that my kids will, when there's a consequence, if there's a punishment, right? Instead of punishments, we call it consequences because these are things that they're well aware of long before it happens, right? And so when there is a consequence, whether they're grounded or they have to do extra chores or they have to do extra homework, it's usually homework related, or they have to write, this one is tragic. Even my clients will be like, oh my God, I couldn't do that for you, where I would make them handwrite a letter. And it has to be a minimum of 2 pages of why what they did was a problem, what values are violated, and what is a relational consequence of that behavior. So if it's lying, for example, right? So my clients tell me, they're like, I would be sobbing as I'm writing. I'm like, sometimes they were, when they have to sit down and handwrite and take accountability of the consequence of whatever behavior. So if it was lying, the consequence is then you lose trust, right? And you're never going to trust me ever again because I can't tell you the truth. Oh my God. So, right. But again, it was to teach accountability. The other part of why it's so structured is my own childhood wounds, right? Just like I'm 100% sure yours is the same, where I don't want them to ever be caught off guard or confused about why there's a certain consequence to what happened. My life was so unpredictable, and there was a lot of, physical reprimands on both sides of my family. But the most damage that I think happened to me was when I didn't know why. I couldn't understand why everything's going okay, and then I've just been backhanded, right? Or I'm explaining what happened and how that wasn't my intention, or that was literally an
Right.
accident.
Yeah.
Right. Forget apology. That was the first thing, but then an explanation of how and why this happened, that it's not how it perceives itself to be or what they're perceiving it to be, and still being physically, I mean, at that point it was physical abuse, but being physically abused because of that. I was so confused. I was so heartbroken from not understanding, of being misunderstood. I never want my kids to ever feel that. I want them to see it coming, especially if they make a choice, right? We deal with things I didn't think that through differently than these are the established rules and these are the established consequences, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you're more gentle with how you respond to him and how you show up for him, probably because of exactly what I said. You had very similar upbringing that I did, but because of what it did to you.
Yeah, it probably broke me a bit now that I think about it, but I am I am who I am thanks to my parents. I am who I am thanks to the education I have. So
Mhm.
the whatever happened when I was, I mean, I am not angry at any of my parents. I'm not
Yeah.
angry at my dad for being perfect, the perfect. I'm still looking for my dad's traits in every male I meet along the way.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I never, by the way, once, only once I met a person who's at least a bit similar to my dad.
Okay.
But I'm you're probably analyzing things. I'm not. So I'm just doing things as I think they should be done. And sometimes I realize that I'm not doing the right thing. But at the moment it seems like the only possible way to do this. So
But that's what self-reflection, that's why it's so important to be able to self-reflect and, try to view yourself in that mirror and what you think about it, and then whether or not you want to continue. Right? You don't have to be a therapist to do that. I think it's something that's necessary to evolve as humans.
yeah, and it's necessary for me, at least now I understand that it's necessary for me to actually try to analyze my relationship with him now
Yeah.
before we move forward and it's too late, because right now he's 7, and a couple of years ago he didn't really need me. Not that he didn't need me, he did need me, but what I gave him was enough. Now he needs
Yes.
more.
Yes.
Now he needs much more. So basically he wants to talk, he wants communication, he wants time with me, he wants a Netflix movie in the evening, which I
Yes.
cannot afford sometimes because I have a job I
Yeah.
have to do at that time.
Right.
So this is why I'm trying to figure out some time that I can actually give him, so he can, even one small, I think I told you about this, one small moment we just watched a movie and he was so happy, and he came back every other evening and like, can we watch something today, can we watch something today?
Right.
But I'm so done. I mean, when we're supposed to watch a movie, I'm falling asleep from 5 minutes after the movie starts, because
Right.
that's it. That's the end of my day, because I started at 6 a.m. and I finish it at 12 a.m. So
Right.
basically,
I
yeah.
mean, I think, and that was part of the reason why my life was so structured, is because I was primary caregiver for the kids and I have a full-time job. And then I decided to go back to school, which you know how I feel about that. Don't do it.
You love it.
Already licensed. I was already, had a practice for, 12 years at that point. There was absolutely no reason to put myself through that bullshit, but I did. And everyone's like, well, but if you would go back, you would tell people that it's worth it, right? I'm like, absolutely not.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. My body is still recovering from all of that stress and pressure that I put on it with everything that I was taking on. But I was very intentional with the time that I gave my kids. And that's why my life is so calendar focused, right? I would have sessions from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. right as child number 1 got off the bus. And I would give 45 minutes to him, unconditional. Like, we're stopping whatever, we're going to go eat together. And, how was your day? A lot of times I have teenagers, right? So a lot of times it was met with, fine.
Yeah.
Like, very much like, what the fuck do you want now? And then after that 45 minutes, I would do homework until child number 2 came home 2 hours after that. And then the same thing, 45 minutes with him.
Mm-hmm.
And, having a snack together or going and playing tennis, which, I'm not athletic whatsoever, but let's just see how many times we can hit the balls. That was the goal. Let's make contact. But it was just intentional time that I gave them. It wasn't necessarily how much time that I gave them. And they knew that that was theirs, that was theirs. There's going to be no interruptions. There's nothing else that's going to be important during that time. Sometimes they spent the full 45 minutes with me. Sometimes it was 15. It's just whatever they needed. And that was it. That was enough. And exactly, they were probably bored. But now that intentionality, and now that I have a lot more free time, no, I don't, because then I started the podcast and I started 2 other businesses, and I genuinely don't know how to just chill out. But for a year after I got my degree, I was like, all you do is go to work and you come home and that's it. And so this intimacy that the kids and I built, right? It's so beautiful to see the older that they get, because those skills, that time, that investment that I put in them, you can see that it did create huge impact, even though it was only 45 minutes a day. That was it. And then I would, check in with them, and as I'm like rolling around on the floor crying because here's another thing that's just not adding up. My research is not adding up. The numbers are not adding up. And I'm just like laying on the floor sobbing. And then afterwards, after they've mocked me for it, you've seen the picture of them. Like, anytime I'm suffering, they come and take a picture of that. Like when I was working out, right? You commented on that one. I think you're like, that is exactly how I imagine you look at the end of your workout. But they love to mock me, and we have that safety for them to do so. But they would just look over and be like, "You didn't have to be here. You know that you did this for yourself. Do you need food? Do you need coffee? Do you need something?" And then, I would say, "Am I giving you enough?" Right? Because that's another thing that comes from my wound, is not feeling like I was loved ever for who I was, right? It was never celebrated. The person that I was never celebrated. Achievements were always highlighted. Failures were highlighted. So achievements meaning not that it was praised. I didn't get praise. It was, oh, good, you did that. That's how it's supposed to be. It was an expectation to do well and to succeed. And failures were always highlighted as, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why did you not get to wherever? And a lot of it, again, back to what you were saying, you're not angry with your parents. I have a really good relationship with my dad and the family that he created. I'm not in contact with my biological mother, right? Because of lots of different things. But that is all they knew based on who they were at that time. Was it okay? No. But it's important to recognize that the behavior wasn't okay, and also recognize that that was literally the best that they could do with what they had leading up to who they became at that point.
Yeah. I get to see a lot of stuff on, I think I told you that or not, a lot of stuff on Instagram basically where millennials, what are we called? Millennials?
We're millennials, yeah.
Yeah.
We're
So
like we're at the cusp, I think, of the elder millennials.
elder millennials.
Right.
So it's like the difference between millennials or whatever they call the other generations, Gen Z or Zoomers, Boomers, I don't even know the names. And the difference, for example, the one person starts a phrase and different generations not react, but finish the phrase.
Yeah.
It's a Russian thing. Basically, it's what we have here in the post-Soviet Union. So whenever your mom says, "When we get home," so what you knew, just wait until we get home, and you knew that the end of this phrase would be, and you're gonna get it from me. And this is what any millennium would answer. That was the saddest part. Everybody was like that. So
It doesn't matter where in the world either, because my dad would just give me the eyes and be like, wait till we get home.
Yeah.
And we're like, no.
Yeah. And the other generations are like, wait till we get home. I'm like, oh, and I'm gonna give you a treat, or something nice. Yeah. And that's, I've watched it. I think it was one reel with three. It was a mom, either a mom with basically three different generations of females, women. I cried because that's when I realized that everybody had the same childhood as I did. Everybody was the same. Nobody was any different. Nobody was any different. Everybody knew that any phrase that starts with "wait till we get home" is not will not finish good for you.
Right.
And the difference between just a couple of years later, so 2010, for example, the kid 2010 has a completely different way of thinking. Wait till we get home and we'll cook dinner and we'll eat something good, something completely different.
Right. Or you'll get what you want. Just wait till we get home.
Yeah.
That's how my kids would answer that. Like, wait till we get home, and then they're going to be like, and then you can have free time, and then you can have whatever, and then we'll go do something, something like that. Not there's a consequence to when you get home.
Going to happen. Yeah.
Right.
For me, it was, I don't want to get home. I don't want to go home.
That's what I was going to say. We have this association of home not being necessarily a safe space.
Good place. Yeah.
So, my son, when they would talk about not going to school, and I was like, I went to school all the time. I love going to school. And then he's like, well, you're a nerd. I'm like, yes, I am. As are you. I was like, but that's where it was safe, right? When I went to school, I had friends, I had teachers that I knew respected me, right? Or I had the library or whatever. Even though I was very isolated, even at school, I didn't have a lot of friends. There was still at least one. Versus at home, there was a lot of times where I felt very isolated and misunderstood. And so I loved being outside of the house. And it's only recently that the mind shift has changed into I can't wait till I get home.
Yeah.
Right. To be able to create that environment for myself and for my kids and for my family where we look forward to being home.
Yeah.
So
I started looking forward to being home when I started living alone. Even with his dad, home wasn't home most of the time. So it was just a place I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. So what was that like? How long was that relationship?
Around 5 years.
Okay.
It was, you probably call it a toxic relationship right now. it was not meant to be from the very beginning. It's something I had in the back of my mind, but like I gave it a lot of chances, and then I got pregnant. But there's a thing. There's something that's my trait probably. When I can take just as much as I can. I mean, I forgive, I forget, but then something just breaks and there's no going back from it. I don't know. Maybe people forgive, maybe people do move on. I tried, but I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
My
That was actually one of the last episodes that I did with Kaylin, my co-host, where we both talked about that. We go all the way to the edge of the cliff before it's like, okay, enough is enough. And then something has broken so much in you that there is no going back, even if you wanted to. There's no repairing to be made after that.
Yeah, well, I think I've been betrayed a bit too many times in this life, and it's like every new every new situation is like, how could it even this be possible? You know, you think everything's okay, and then boom, something happens, and something new happens because somebody cheating on you is like not really betrayal for me anymore, but like somebody just leaving and that's it, he's away and he calls you. I told you about that. He calls you from another part of the world telling you that this is not working. I love you, but I'm not coming back. This is a whole new level. It was
Yeah.
just, how is that even possible? But and right now I had a lot of, I wouldn't call that expectations. I had a lot of trust in love. I am a loving person. I have a lot to
Yes. Yes, you do.
I have I don't know. I I think I am a bit, yeah, crazy sometimes, but I think we all are. But I'm trying to
Yeah.
control myself when it's maybe because of my childhood I do get a bit over the edge. I mean, I'm a jealous type of person as well, so I have a lot of issues and I know them. I have analyzed them about myself. I have a lot of
Yeah.
to give, but lately, especially after this last one, I don't even want to try anymore. I mean,
Which is what we see overwhelmingly in women our age now. We're tired. We're tired of the giving, of the teaching, of the endless pouring out until there's nothing of us left.
exactly. I'm still empty. I haven't filled that void yet. I don't have, I have love to give, but I don't want to, go out on dates. I don't want to, pretend I'm somebody I'm not, or I don't know, go to restaurants and stuff like that. I just want this to happen naturally, and I
Yeah.
do not want to fake it. But it
Right.
doesn't seem to be happening naturally anymore.
Well, and it baffles me. It really baffles me. I mean, I've told you this before. I think you're incredibly, incredibly gorgeous. And then when we became friends on Instagram, I was like, damn, when I saw your pictures, your modeling, like you look just stunning is an understatement. And
Thank
then at the same time, you're saying, I've had so many experiences with betrayal. The newest, most evolving kind, it blows my mind that this kind of betrayal is even possible. And that I cannot grasp. I've been cheated on by every single person I've ever been in a relationship with. And it's easy to say it's a man thing, and I don't think that it is. I don't think it's a gender thing, because there's plenty of men that'll tell you the amount of women that they've been cheated on by as well. But I do think it has everything to do with who I was choosing and what I would tolerate, right? Because again, just giving endless chances, hoping desperately that this person will show up eventually, right? And love me the way I want to be loved. I think that's what gives it permission to keep going farther down into hell than you thought it was possible.
Exactly. And it's just stepping on your own, how do you call them? You have your own principles, you have your own ideas of how a relationship is supposed to be, and you're step by step, you're just moving away from this whole idea of a perfect relationship that you have in your head just because this person has a different one or is trying to like, no, this is not supposed to be like this. No, he does that. It's supposed to be like that. And the father of my child, this is, I think that it was probably the craziest relationship. Maybe I was betrayed worse than by him, but the latter one, but it was just every time I would come back home, and we were working, both of us worked, and we actually worked at the same gym. We're trainers at the same gym. Every time we came back home, and if I cleaned, then he would pick up on something, say, okay, why is this pencil here? It's not supposed to be here. Even though it's just a pencil, you know. Why is there so little salt in whatever you cooked today? So basically, no matter how much I tried,
It's constant criticism.
it's nothing. Yeah, nothing. I think they call it gaslighting now. I heard it today. I was never good. I was never good. Everything was, I don't know. And he often came back from work like pissed at somebody else, but he would just throw it on me, and I would just, yeah. I thought I loved him, but I think I never did. It was just some kind of a, I don't know what it was. It was a blank. I don't want to remember it. But I kept listening. I kept trying for some reason. Now I really don't understand why. I kept going, and then I found out that he was cheating on me, and still I tried. We already had our son, so I tried to forgive him. But what broke me was actually the fact that when I was in labor and when I gave birth to his son, he was present. So he was there. Then he went back home, and I accidentally, like I think it was half a year later, I accidentally found he had a call on Skype or whatever he was using with a girl, and there was a text there. There were texts like, "Can you show me your wussy?" and stuff like that. And when I see the date, it was May 14th. That was when my son was born. And I'm like,
It's making me itch.
animal do you have? What kind of animal are you to do that on that day? I mean, one day before that and one day after that is still fine, but not on that day. You went home and you basically did that.
No, not even the day before or after, by the way. It's just not okay, period. That is heinous.
But
the fact that he did that on the day his child was born was heinous. It's disgusting. But it should never happen at all. And there's lots of reasons why people cheat. But a lot of it sometimes has nothing to do with the relationship that they're in. Does that make sense? Sometimes people cheat because there's no connection in the relationship. There's no intimacy, emotional intimacy. They don't feel respected. They don't feel heard. They don't feel understood. They don't feel appreciated, right? So here shows up somebody that doesn't expect or want anything from you other than to praise you for just existing, right? And if you don't have that at home, then that becomes addicting, right? You want that validation, sure, fine. But a lot of times in my work, for as long as I've been working, I've seen people cheat even in happy relationships. They're sexually fulfilled at home. They're emotionally fulfilled at home, and yet they still go cheat. And it's because of who they are. And it's this bottomless pit within them of they don't feel enough and they don't feel it for themselves. They don't try to understand it. They think that they're just God's gift to the world. So,
Or men, yeah.
men, right? Because I know women who are like that. They're happy in relationships, and then as soon as they get the attention somewhere else, right, they would latch onto that because it's a bottomless pit. There's a hole in that love bucket, right? So no amount of love that they're getting from anywhere is going to work because they refuse to heal and bandage that bucket that's broken, right? So you see that everywhere. And I don't think that's taught enough. I wish, because again, in the relationships that I was in, it was always, well, you don't do this, 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 and this, and this, and this enough. And then I'm like, okay, give me examples on how I'm not. And then they don't have anything concrete because it's not about me and it's not about how I show up. It's not, I mean, I was in a relationship. I was in 2 relationships that both of those I ended because they were jealous of my kids. You know, you don't massage me the way you do this infant. Are you insane? Like the baby, you know, when you like massage its little feet and everything. Well, you don't do that with me. What the fuck? Right? They were like, where that's what I mean by that bottomless pit. Or later on, my next relationship after that one, 15 years later, he was sick. And so I'm sitting up all night with my son on my chest. And I think he was 9 or 10 at the time. And he had an infection in his lungs. And I lost my best friend because she was intubated incorrectly on her way to the in the ambulance on her way to the hospital. So her brain didn't get oxygen. She ended up dying from that instead of the physical problem that she had. So I was very fearful of, I need to make sure he breathes all night long, right? And nothing happens. And then this person was like, do you love me? As I'm up all night, right? Lack of sleep, petrified that my baby might die. And this is another loss I might have, even though he wasn't a baby, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something is going to happen to him. And you want reassurance that you're loved at this point, not as in like, you know, I don't know any way that he could have asked that question that it would have been acceptable at that time.
At that time, yeah. At that time,
you know,
need any help? Do you want me to help you?
Right.
Should I get you something?
The end, right? Or let's talk about life or travel or something to distract your mind, not please reassure me as your. So I was attracting, yes, but I think we attract everyone. We end up choosing the ones with the dysfunctions that are familiar, which is why we have the same repeated
pattern.
Right. And even if the last one is a little bit better than the one that came before, still waiting forever to get that to change, like, is the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different outcome.
Yeah.
So my stance on that now is accept people for who they show you to be from the very beginning. And then what you were saying with dating, people are like, yeah, but everyone's putting their best foot forward. Why? Why are you presenting any version of yourself that's not authentic?
Well, that's what happened. Well, that's what had happened with my ex, with my latest ex. He promised me so many things. So that's the whole point. He seemed to be a completely different person in the beginning. It seemed like I was choosing a completely different person, different from everybody else I knew before. So he left. So he's from Germany. He left for Germany. He said he'd come back. He did come back. We had Zoom calls every day that month that he was absent. It was just in the beginning of our relationship. He came back. We spent time with my kid, because my kid is the first thing that I show when I meet somebody. Is like, This is my son. So so you don't tell me that I haven't told you. So
Yep.
we spent time, all three of us. We lived together. So, but in a couple of months, he turned out to be a completely different person. He just took his mask off. He's I want to travel. I want to travel for as long as I want to. I want to travel alone sometimes, not always with you. This is expensive for you to travel with me. This is okay. There I can take you there, but I cannot take you there. For example, we've been to the Philippines, but he didn't really want to take me to Dubai because Dubai is expensive. I'm like, oh, he ended up taking me, but still, there was just those things that you're okay. First, you accept them, then first he says he's gonna stay with me because he's from the European Union and I'm not. So his passport allows him to stay here for 180 days in half a year. So half a year from 1 year. So basically, selectively. So he said he's gonna stay with me for a month and then leave for a couple of weeks before he can get days here. And first he left for 2 3 weeks, then it was 4 5, then he was like, I travel so far, why would I just spend 2 weeks there? For example, if he went to Malaysia or Vietnam, and he was like, I'm gonna leave for 6 weeks this time. Like, isn't that too long? No, because it's a long flight and I get tired and blah blah blah. So every trip became longer and longer, and I accepted it every time. I'm like, okay, okay, he's traveling. Okay, he's fine. Another thing that was it's the now that I remember it, because I'm texting with my friends more often than I was with him. He was like,
Yeah.
busy. I'm busy. I don't have time to text. He's like so far away, and he would just send me one text in a day, maybe two. I was lucky if I got two. I'm busy. But then when he's with me, I saw the busy he was. He was just on his computer watching news, reading stuff about whatever came. So that was how busy he was.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of things that just changed along the way. A lot of things that
And slowly, right? It would be, I think, easier to accept and say, this is not what I want for myself. This is not the relationship I'm looking for, if it was a drastic enough change, right? But I feel like it happens so slowly where you notice it and you pick it up and you comment on it, and then there's always a justification for it. And if you don't accept the justification, then you don't have empathy, then you don't have understanding, then you don't have kindness, and then you don't have blah 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 blah.
although he's the one who probably understood from the very beginning that it's not really his lifestyle. He's not going to stay with me and my child, and I'm not the one who's going to travel around with him because I do have a child
You
who's
have a kid, yeah.
school. So tell me that let's just split from I'm not your person. That became obvious to me in a couple of months, but I was like, okay, maybe he's trying to change, maybe this. And he did say that he did try to change, but he's a kid,
And
he's a child.
that's my stance, period, now. And some people might think it's very rigid. And that's okay. If that doesn't work for people, it doesn't work for people. It is just who I am. And my rigidity just comes from, if you're showing me who you are and it doesn't work for me, I don't need to change you. It either works or it doesn't. And I'm talking about not changing things like, if my partner doesn't like that we come home and take off our shoes and it's right there by the front door. Right? That's not the change I'm talking about. I'm talking about changes in like communication. Either somebody is you are important enough for them. One of my girlfriends, she dated a cardiac surgeon who would text her or call her before he went into surgery to say, this one's going to be a long one. I'm not going to be able to talk to you for this long, but I will reach out to you as soon as I get out. Or he would finish his shift. He would finish the surgery and he would wait for her to wake up. because he knew when she would wake up and say, I haven't gone to bed yet, even though I just did an all-nighter shift so that I can take you for breakfast. That's something that he did naturally, right? Versus us desperately trying to convince someone to talk to me more, or, or like with me, I would call sometimes because I'd be driving home from work and he would answer. I'm like, hey, are you busy? What are you doing? And then he would say, I'm actually at a crime scene right now. I'm like, why did you answer the phone? Don't answer the phone. What are you doing? Right. And I would be like, what are you doing? Because I'm not answering a phone call when I'm in session. Right. That is expected and it's understood. And the only time that I would is if my kids were calling, right? Because that could be an emergency. And my children also know not to call when I'm working unless it's an emergency. You set the house on fire when you're home or something. But it wasn't until then that I realized this is what it looks like to be somebody's priority, even if they're at work. Yeah. Right. And there, and I've got 1,000 other examples of where I was literally having to put, what they call breadcrumbing. It's like little bitty crumbs that you're like, okay, this was nice. Okay, this was nice, when that doesn't work for you because you give so much more. And it's the whole reason I wanted to talk about this is not because this is a universal suffrage for men and women alike, of accepting less than what you deserve, wondering why this is happening, right? And then the impact that it has on us, that I do think it spreads like ink. If you spill ink on paper, you know how the tendrils slowly spread out, of self-doubt, of what you are and who you are and how you show up in the world. And that's where that imposter syndrome comes from, where am I enough, right? And in whatever way. My eldest is going through a breakup right now. I found out this morning, and I feel so inadequate when I help people with stuff like this all the time. But with him, I feel so inadequate, right? The imposter, like, what the fuck am I going to do to help you feel better? How am I supposed to show up for you and help you feel better? And to make sure I don't go into fix it, right? Because I can't fix this. And that's the first thing I want to do is like, whose ass do I need to kick? Where's right? And he knows that, thankfully. He knows that, because I have, leading up to this, have been like, I know your answer is going to be no, but I just want you to know that this option is available. I can 100% reach out to this person with a reminder of who you are and what you bring to the table and how you show up. And somebody needs to step up. And he was like, please don't. And I was like, I'm not. I just want you to know, though, that if you ever wanted me to have a one-on-one, like let me tell you, I will. He's like, yes, I know. And I was like, I'm just saying. Because not that I'm going to show up and be some toxic mom or anything like that, but I need him to know that I have his back and that I see who he is and what he brings. But the biggest thing, that broke my heart with this one, and I know you have experienced it, and God, I wish this wasn't another universal one, but he, again, because he's been trying to go through this breakup for at least the last year and a half, right? So recognizing that it's just not right. When one of the things I say is this how you want to feel, right? Not anything about that person, because we always focus on the other person, but they do show up in this way, but they do show me love in that way, but they do because we do, that's hope, right? We try to fixate on the things and romanticize the things that are going well so that we can tolerate the ones that are not. And I always say, not that bad doesn't make it good. Because that was a hard lesson for me to learn. Because I needed something that was that bad so it would justify me ending the relationship, instead of not that bad doesn't make it a good one either. And so when he told me this morning, he was like, I just don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I don't know if this is the right thing. It just broke my heart, because unless it's that bad, you really don't ever know that that's the right thing, because there's always that hope.
Yeah.
It's gross.
It's sad.
But
I really love the times when I'm single and I feel good single, I miss those times.
yeah.
There's always somebody, when you feel complete and you feel good, there's always somebody aiming at that. So he has to
Because
root
it's
for you.
attractive, right? It's alluring, it's attractive. You do feel, and I agree with you, when you are comfortably single, right? When you've gone through the mornings that just is crippling almost with loneliness, right? Or at night when you're going to bed and it's just crippling the amount of loneliness. And for me, loneliness, all of your emotions have some kind of physiological response, right? If you learn which ones go with what physiological. Mine is cold. I will be freezing when I'm lonely. It's so annoying, because when I learned that, I was just like, and then it's 76 degrees in the house and I'm freezing. And I'm like, this is stupid. This is stupid. Because I get angry for having those. And that's my representative. Anger is my emotional representative, right? For anything. If I'm lonely, I'm angry, right? If I'm sad, I'm angry. The first representative that shows up to protect me is my anger.
Anger. For
Yeah.
me, sadness, probably. I'm always sad.
Yeah. Yeah, which is normal. All of the representatives are the ones that to recognize as something is wrong. Something is not matching up, right? And I hate the loneliness one, but when you finally get past that crippling loneliness, when you get past that anxiety, right? Because anytime a relationship ends, hello, anxiety. On top of depression and and all of the other ones, but anxiety is there. Am I doing the right thing? Did I do especially if you're the one that caused the end of the relationship, you chose to break it off, then it's, did I do the right thing? Am I going to find anybody better? Is this the best that I will ever have? Right? All of these things that just suck out any sense of self. And hello, imposter. But once you get past that and you are comfortably single, you radiate. I see that in my clients. I see that in my friends, right? Because you're good. You're good with you. You're good with your time. You're good with doing whatever it is you want to do, and you just do it by yourself.
Being alone is not loneliness anymore. It's just your time.
Right. And enjoying it. But you radiate. You radiate, you glow when you have that. And people do want that, especially the takers, especially those vampires. And then if you're not aware of those patterns of, who you end up choosing and why, there's the next vampire that's here to suck the life out of you again.
Yeah. I've come to the realization that there's only vampires around me. I don't know. I haven't met people who would give me some energy.
Right. But I do think that's where it's so important to feel that need for the healthy relationships with friendships, right? Like, I'm grateful for you to have you. You told me when I expected you to say, go to Portugal, right? Go have fun, go meet people, go do all the things. You were like, maybe go to Mexico instead, go be a vegetable, right? So I'm grateful for people like you in my life who are authentic, who are where I am in life and where you're trying to be. You understand my plight, right? And I hope you feel like I understand yours.
Yeah, you do.
But I'm grateful for those people, the friendships, more so than potential romantic relationships.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this whole job has given me a lot of wonderful women, and you have no idea how many stories are there behind those women. A lot of them have gone through so much, and they still radiate, and they're still happy, and they're still, Some of them are single, yeah, some of them are married, but there's I learned to appreciate women with this job.
Yeah. 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 And building those connections and, appreciating that resiliency, even though I'm sick of being resilient. I'm tired of having to be resilient. I'm ready to coast. I'm ready to coast through life. I
Yeah,
think I'm ready.
I'm ready for somebody to take me into his arms and just carry me until my retirement. I'm
Oh,
good with
to take
that.
care of you. Yes. Oh, again, because you're like me in where you've had to kind of claw your way through life to be where you are now. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
there's a lot of I hate it. You know what I hate the most? When people tell me that I'm strong. And I'm
Blech. That's what
strong.
I mean by resilience. Stop it. I don't want to be.
There's just, oh, you're so strong. Or when they make an excuse to this, and then when they actually tell you, oh, you're strong, you're gonna, for example, I break up with whoever I broke up with, and like,
Yeah.
but you're strong, you're gonna get over this. I don't need this now. I don't need you to
Exactly.
tell me I'm strong.
I didn't need the extra life lesson. Thank you.
Exactly, exactly. So whenever especially coming from a man, the words "you're strong" are like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And it doesn't matter that it is true. It's just not helpful.
Exactly. So the little things that you actually mentioned, the small things that the good things that cover up for the bad things, and you're trying to see romanticize anything. Right now, everything that's going on around me, even those little things that a person makes me feel like a weak woman, like the woman I'm supposed to be, and not a strong, muscular female, which I'm not.
Right.
But it seems like some people really see me like this. Even
Yeah.
those things make me feel special, which is
Yes.
which is to me very sad because it's
But I don't think it is. We grew up. I think we are products of the women's movement, right? Because the women before us had to fight so hard to be able to have the right to work, to own a bank account, to be able to buy a house, to have their own line of credit, right? They had to work so hard for these basic things that are just given to men, that we were raised to be the strong one, be able to work and take care of yourself and be successful and be sufficient and be self-sufficient and then be amazing mothers on top of that, be like all the things, right? We're supposed to be all the things. And I've heard this from men, clients, and romantic relationships, but then also my friends. They're like, but I feel like you guys enjoy it. You like the control. You like being in charge. And I'm like, no, we do it because we have to. I
exactly.
would love, love, love to bask. I mean, I'm already very feminine, right? But I'm not. I have too much testosterone that I show up with in the world, even though my testosterone is shit. Uh, right? Like
Because you
I,
give
I
it
don't,
to the world.
I don't, I want to, be in my feminine goddess, right? Realm where I don't have to be the boss to make the decisions, to think ahead. I have to think 10 steps ahead to make sure there's no chaos that happens at home. I'd love to not have to be so on in every area of my life, but I can't. I can only do that if someone shows up with that masculine energy to do that. If they do it, I don't have to. I don't choose to. I have to. I have to mitigate loss, chaos, and whatever dangerous moment that might happen, right? Like my child getting hurt or there's not enough food, so then there's nothing to eat, right? Like all these things, as huge and as little as it is, I'm still preparing and having to mentally prepare for something 10 steps ahead because there's not anybody else to do it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if somebody would, I
Yeah,
wouldn't have to.
I know.
I wouldn't have to be in this, boss bitch mode all the time. It'd be fantastic. So any men that are sitting here listening to any of this, even the females, right? Just know we are telling you we don't want to be in our masculine all the time. We do not want that. That's not restful for us, because then we don't get a break. Not only do we have to manage all the feminine, because we show up with our feminine energy, like you are with me today on this podcast, and I am with you today on this podcast. Like I will show up with my feminine energy for my children, right? To be nurturing, to be understanding, to be loving. We have to do that already, plus all the other masculine energy things too, of making sure things are safe, things are protected, the people in our lives are safe and protected, that our finances are in order, that next month's bills can be paid. We have to have both of that, and we don't want it. Okay? We don't want it. So take that as permission to show up for us so that we can chill out with that part and bask in that. I'd love to be goddess over here, feminine goddess right here. Love it. Would love it. Would love it.
That's actually the trait. Let's go back to the beginning of the conversation. That's the trait my father had. So basically, that's what I'm looking for in a man. My mom, she's never worked a day in her life after she gave birth to me. So she didn't have to do anything. She wanted to, because we want to do something.
Yes.
You just
Right.
don't want to stay at home. But he provided for the whole family, and he was proud when he was able to do so. And
Yes.
me, even me, for my kid, I'm very happy when I can buy something that he really, really wants. I know that
Yes.
I can afford that.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
to me, a man has to be just the same way with me. So it's not like I ask for much, but like when I tell you that this thing is cute, and or I need this and something, and you actually buy
Yes.
it without telling me, oh, but it's expensive, even though it's not, oh, but maybe, or you just, okay, I'm telling him I like it, and he just like, okay, whatever, it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. And it doesn't even have to be financial. Like for me, that provider energy is not even financial. It has nothing to do with finance. For me, provider energy is, because I'm a nerd, I read all the time. That's one of the ways I pass my time. And I saw this book, right? And I took a screenshot. I was like, I must have this book. And mind you, if a week goes by and it's not in my hands, I'll buy it for myself, because that's just how I am. But a provider would be like, let me find the stupid book, and I'm going to get it immediately. Or I'm working today, they are not, right? Because today's a weekend, so I'm working on a weekend. And if they are not, there's food for me. There's coffee for me. Hey, you usually take your coffee. This is tea today, because I have to save my coffee for later on for my emotional support to get through the rest of the day. But I usually have my coffee around 3 p.m. So if it's around 3 p.m. and they know that that's when I have my coffee, to just immediately be like, hey, you want some coffee? Right? That to me is providing for me. You're providing me food, which is the most important thing. Whether you take me out to eat or you make me breakfast. I run through the house like a mad woman in the mornings, right? Trying to get to leave and then get to the office. And then they literally just took my briefcase, which is right here by my feet on the floor. But let's say they took it from here and put it in, it's already in the car. That's the kind of things I require.
That's what he was in the beginning, actually. He was very careful with this. When I had to run to work, I had that, but that lasted for 1 month.
Right. That's where, if that's what you need, they need to do that naturally. And that's what I was trying to explain to my son today, that, why reciprocal relationships are crucial. That's the number one thing you need to look for. Is it reciprocal? Do they give as much as they take? And then also, do they give as much as you do? Right? That's something I've been teaching my kids since they were very little. Did you give as much love as you took today? Because of the relationship I was in at that time, right? That was not, it was not balanced whatsoever with how much they took versus how much they gave. So one of the things I wanted the children to always know is to recognize, are you taking more than you're giving? But also, is the person you're investing in, right? With their friendships, with their parents, with their grandparents, with any relationship, is it the same? Is it reciprocal? Do they also give as much as they take? Right? So that's number one. But then also I told him it has to be something that's natural, that comes to what you need, and what they can give is just natural.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't have to beg for it. And they don't have to work so hard to give something that's not natural to them. Right? So it goes both ways. Something that's very easy for me to give might not be something that comes natural to somebody else. But then if that's a crucial need of mine, that relationship is not going to work. But knowing that about yourself, and then, like you said, eventually getting to a point to say, yeah, this is not going to work because it's not what I need. But doing it a lot sooner rather than later, I think, is the key.
Yeah, but some men test things. So he had to test it to understand that it's not actually working.
Right.
It doesn't really matter that he hurt me along the way. He tried. It didn't work. That's it. Move forward. Goodbye.
Right. Right.
It's,
But to what you said earlier, if they know that about themselves already, you have no reason to try to test it to see if it's going to work.
maybe it was my mistake, because I kind of felt it at the beginning as well. It was I cannot say that I wasn't aware of some things.
Mhm.
Maybe
Right. The
very beginning,
romanticizing of it really does. Right. Hoping for
Yeah.
things to be different and change.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly as you said, I was holding on to good things, trying to not to see the bad things, or the ones that I didn't want to see. Not necessarily bad, but just something that didn't work with me.
Right. Or to rationalize it. Right. We do rationalize the ones that aren't that great and doesn't work for us, to be like, yeah, but it's circumstantial. Right. And talk ourselves through something that we should just say, no, thank you.
Yeah, I can just as an example, the one text that he sent me throughout the day, it was maybe he was in different time zones, so he would text me one message, then maybe another one. Yesterday I slept for until 10 a.m., which doesn't happen very often. That person, I actually told you about this person. First, he texts good morning at 7 a.m. Then he texts, what, are you still sleeping at 8 a.m.? Then he says, what is going on? Why are you sleeping so long at 9 a.m.? Then at 10 a.m. I wake up and say, like, so you're sleeping so, because he knows I wake up early.
Yeah.
But I feel good when I wake up and see that he's been thinking about me since 7 a.m.
Yeah.
when he first texted. It's not like he threw that message and whenever she texts back, she texts back. So this is the kind of thing that I'm looking for this, and it's been a while since we've known each other, and the problem, but still it comes naturally.
Yeah.
If he doesn't text, then I'm not I'm okay texting myself, because I know he'd come back and he'd say that he was busy or something went wrong.
Yeah.
And not like oh, I hate this phrase like the most. I had things to do. I didn't message you
Everybody
because
has
I had
things to
things to do. They were so difficult to just text. And we communicated through Telegram, and he had Telegram on his computer. So basically, he could type it on his computer, that message. He didn't even have to pick up the phone.
Right. See, exactly. Go for the ones that give you what you need naturally. It makes existing so much easier for the very, very important values, right? And communication is one for you. So yeah, good. Well, thank you for sharing all of your insights and experiences with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you too for letting me speak out loud some things.
No,
Thanks.
your perspective and your experience is very valuable. And you know, you and I've talked about this where there's so much disingenuousness out on the web with Instagram, all these perfect people with their perfect lives. I want to show the world that being authentic and being real with everything you have, all the scars, that it's just as important and just as beautiful, that we're not measuring up because everybody else looks so shiny from the outside.
From the
No
outside.
one is.
No one is, yeah. The shinier it looks from the outside, I think the worse it looks from the inside. So
Right.
thank you too for being there for me. Talking to you has also been like wonderful. All the times we meet, we're supposed to be talking about different topics, but still.
No, this is perfect. All right. And thank you everyone for listening today. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.